the guy who does it the best today about cutting angles and being right in front of you and you can't hit him is Lomachenko. Lomachenko stands right in front of you and then he's not.
Yeah.
And then he's over here and then he's punching you in the face. TJ Dillashaw, who's a UFC bantamweight champion, said he sparred with him. And he said the first round was like, Lomachenko's just feeling him up, just figuring him out. And, he's like, man, I'm kind of hanging in there with this guy. And then his dad yelled something in Russian. And then the second round, Lomachenko's just dancing around him, stepping to the side, touching him in the face.
And unfortunately, that was the only round they put on YouTube, too. You know what I mean? I seen that. The thing with Lomachenko is this. And I tell people also, like, Floyd Mayweather is unbelievable defensive fighter. But Floyd was really good on drawing you in, and kind of countering off that. His defense and his reflexes were amazing, but he kind of lured you in a little bit, made you miss, made you make a mistake, and then he would counter you.
Yeah.
Lomachenko, on the other hand, is a guy, you could throw a punch, and that punch could be in midair, and he's spinning, and he's already behind you.
Yeah.
It's the athleticism is astonishing. I have not seen it. Granted, can he lose? Absolutely. It's boxing. And if you get one of them rugged guys that are just going to come in and say, you know what, screw it, I'm just going to get hit, but I'm going to hit him. That may be a type of fighter that beats Lomachenko.
Well, who was it that was the Mexican guy who beat him in one of his first fights?
Salido.
Salido. Right. Yeah, that was the kind of fight that he fought.
Yeah.
Just dirty, got on top of him.
But you got to understand on that point, too, that was Lomachenko's second pro fight.
Yeah.
And
against a real veteran.
A guy who's been there and done it and seen it. And that's the argument. And it's hard to explain, again, and that was another argument on these that I get a little frustrated reading. Second pro fight, usually in boxing, though, it goes like the first year, you're up 4, 6. Second year, maybe you start getting up to 8. But you get a good amount of fights under your belt before you start getting into the 10 rounds and 12 rounds. Okay? You're talking about a kid coming out of the amateurs fighting 3 3-minute rounds or 4 2-minute rounds, depending on whatever tournament or international tournament it is. And he's going right into a 12-round fight. I know myself coming up, and the process that Top Rank brought me up, which was a great process too. They picked the fights, and they made sure that the fights that they picked for me were the correct fights, and they groomed me the right way, by rounds and everything else. And I know just jumping from 6 to 8, the difference in that, let alone being a kid and you're going into your second pro fight and you're fighting a 12-round fight. So if he lost that fight, which he came back and he made it a really close fight, I would have to tip my hat to him just on the fact that he was able to go 12 rounds.
Yeah.
People take a lot away from that fighter. What he accomplished is something that not many can do.
Well, it's crazy. I mean, he had a second pro title at how many fights in?
Yeah, the second fight was for the world title. Then he won the world title in his third pro fight.
Yeah, that's insane. And but he's had more than one per world title, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, he's won, I think, 3 different weight classes now.
Right, but his second one was something some insanely short. See, pull up his record.
Yeah,
Lomachenko?
I believe if I'm right. I looked this up.
His first fight was.
What's that?
This is his first fight was for the international featherweight title.
That was against Salido?
Ramirez. He said
Oh,
he
okay.
lost against Salido for the vacant WBO featherweight title.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So what was the first title?
International featherweight title, WBO.
Yeah, that's not a real. That's not like a world title. Yeah. They have a bunch of weird titles, right? Like international title, continental title.
You're insulting me. I had the WBO. I had the WBO.
You were the world champion, motherfucker.
Yeah, but
but you had all of it. You were unified.
Well, it should have been, by all rights. But Taylor vacated too.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, but that's why I get mad, and that's another big argument in boxing. How you break that down between the lineal.
Put that back up.
The lineal and unanimous, I had the ring, the WBO.
Scroll up, CC his whole record. So, what was his? Okay, so his second world title was when? Retained 1. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 fights in. Okay. He's in his second. That's when he he wins his second title. 6 fights in, he wins a junior lightweight title. That's insane.
Yeah, the international. Okay, that wasn't the first one. Wasn't a world title fight. It was
Right.
but the second one was the WBO world title fight.
11 fights in, he wins his 3rd world title. What in the fuck?
I believe now there was at one point it was 7 world champions in just that short period of fights. I believe it's around 8 now. 8 world champions he's fought in just that short period. 3 different weight classes.
I think when he fought Rogan, you really got a chance to see how he handles a real world-class, Cuban amateur system trained, top of the food chain boxer, and he just put it to that dude.
That was the fight that actually really sold me on Lomachenko.
Yeah.
Because I thought for a fact that was going to be a chess match because of the boxing ability from Rigondeaux. Their styles were very similar.
Yeah.
And I thought that, I was like, it's going to be a boring fight for the first, 4 rounds, which I still would have liked because I like watching that type of fights,
Mm-hmm.
And I go in there and I'm expecting this fight, the amateur background of both guys, how talented the guys are and the skill level of both guys. And then next thing I know, I'm 2 or 3 rounds into it, and I'm going, he's playing with Rigondeaux.
Yeah.
Playing with him. I'm going, how? That's the fight that really sold me on Lomachenko, that he's that good.
My man Vinny Pazienza called that. Not Vinny Pazienza the boxer, Vinny Paz the rapper. This guy, Jedi Mind Tricks, he called it. He was taking bets on Instagram.
Jeez.
He was saying
He called it that early, too?
Yes,
Wow.
he was taking bets on Instagram. If you think Rigondeaux has anything for him,
Yeah.
he's like, find me in the DMs. He goes, let's bet.
Yep. I took Lomachenko in that fight, but I thought it was going to be a close fight, really close fight, and I thought Lomachenko was going to pull ahead in the later rounds, and win that fight. So that's why it really surprised me,
Well, it was a stunning display of talent. He's such a weird guy, too, because his background, you know the story where his father took him out of boxing and made him do traditional Russian dancing for several years and just made him learn that for footwork. It seems like his dad was just a mastermind architect of a champion.
Yeah, you probably know more on this than I would. Didn't he also have a martial art background, I heard?
He definitely can do martial arts techniques. I've seen it, but I don't know what.
I thought
see,
I
see if
may
he
have
had a
heard.
martial arts background. Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. That makes sense. He's his footwork though is so extraordinary, and if that really is that dancing background, like learning the footwork and the way he's so agile with the stepping of his feet. It's like I think a lot of people are going to learn and mirror that.
Yeah, his training regimen is pretty brutal also. I got a buddy, Roger Romo, a good friend of mine. He was working for a little while there up until the last fight. He was a strength and conditioning coach with Cecilio Flores, who was mine when I was in Oxnard training. And they said it was just crazy, the hours that he puts in, how he trains, how hard he trains, and some of the drills that he does. I'm looking at them and going, I could use these, not for me, but I could use them for some of the athletes that I got now.
Yeah, he's definitely something special. And you get those guys, and it's kind of a shame that he's a little too small for Terrence Crawford. I mean, I really would love to see those two fight, but it seems like Crawford's just a little bit too heavy for him.
I agree, but that's another touchy subject because I kind of agree with you, but I also go back because I'm always trying to really break down and nitpick. I look at guys like Manny Pacquiao, who came from, I believe, 112 or something like that, and went up all the way to junior middleweight,
which is crazy.
Yeah, he's shorter than Lomachenko.
Yeah,
and other than his calves, I don't think anything else is much bigger than Lomachenko on his body, and he was able to do it.
And what the fuck is going on with his calves?
I don't know.
It's like he's keeping hams in them.
I don't know what he does. I wish I knew the secret to that because I could use it. So
get that secret to John Jones.
This article says that his mother was actually still is a martial artist.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, gymnast and martial artist.
Well, it makes
His dad was
sense.
a boxer.
Yeah, man. Footwork, the way he does it is just—it's something to watch, man. It's just the ability to move and also to anticipate the other fighters' movements. It's like, especially earlier in his career, it's like he was fighting guys that they seemed so crude in comparison to his approach.
Yeah, and what's even more crazy about it is being the opponent, because usually you go into a fight and you break down film and you're going over the film and you got a good idea of what he does right, what he does wrong, and what you might have to do. Lomachenko, it's hard to pick up where he's going to go. He different angles, so you can't go, well, you know what? After he throws the right hand, he likes to move over to the left because he does it one time, and then the next time he's totally somewhere opposite.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And yeah, the angles, it's really almost impossible to break film down on him. You know, like this last fight with this Pedraza, everybody's going, that was the blueprint. I'm going, no, it wasn't. You know, and they're saying it was a closer fight than, you know, people expected. I go, why? Because he finally got hit with more than 11 punches in a fight.
Oh, that's him doing a sambo, I
Yeah, I
believe
guess
that is.
he's trained it when he was a younger.
Greco-Roman. Yeah, he's slamming kids. That's right. Well, you know what, man? I believe in cross-training, and I think that there's certainly some skills that would make you better at different martial arts. And I feel like if you have the ability to wrestle guys and move guys' bodies around like that you would get from something like Sambo, I just feel like as an elite boxer, having that extra strength, that extra ability to move your core that way, I think that would be beneficial.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is, no world-class boxer has the time to also be doing judo and also be doing wrestling. You just don't have the time.
Nope. And being in combat sports, even I know that as far as I'm not involved in MMA, but I know that, you know, these guys, they have to perfect 3 or 4 as much time in a short period of time. You know, I think Matt was telling me you would know more, like sometimes it's 2 days of one, 2 days of the next, trying to fit that in. Yeah, it's hard. You cannot, especially in boxing, the sweet science where it's just hands, but you got people, that's all they do all day long.
Right.
That's why I say it's so unfair when an MMA guy goes in and fights a Mayweather, because Mayweather, he perfected that.
Yeah.
And you got to use just that style of boxing. It's going to be almost impossible to beat a boxer, a world champion boxer.